Hi, everybody. My name is Carlos, and I am the Professional Development Chair for IEEE at UCF. For those of you that this is your first video of the Professional Development series that you're watching, welcome. This is the second episode of the Professional Development series for the fall 2020 semester. The first video that we created was the How to Make a Good Resume. If you haven't seen it before, I highly recommend it. It shows you how to make the resume using Excel, which is a lot better than making the resume in Word. So this video is going to be about making a good LinkedIn profile. So essentially going from this example profile to this profile. So a lot more aesthetically pleasing, more connections, and a lot more detailed. So when you're first starting out with LinkedIn, it's going to require you to put in a little bit of more information about yourself, such as name, current position, and current location. Doing that, it slowly fills up this bar that you have over here. This is your profile strength meter. Essentially, once you get to a certain point, I'm thinking around All-Star, your profile gets opened up to more opportunities. You can connect with more people and you can see more user profiles. So I highly recommend, if you're new to LinkedIn and haven't done this already, fill this up as fast as possible. It shows you right here what you need to do to complete it. And generally this can go in order. I'm going to discuss each little section one by one, and what you should really put in those sections. So before we get started, the first thing you want to edit is your profile URL. When you create your LinkedIn, your URL is your name separated by hyphens, and then it ends with a unique ID. We want to change this up so that it is a clean representation of your profile. It looks clean when you post a link in a chat or in your resume, and it's not a bunch of numbers. So in order to do that really quick, just go to edit profile and URL. This new page opens up, and just click on edit your custom URL up here. As you can see, I already edited. I put John Edward Smith -CPE just because John Smith was already taken, but just play around with it. Make sure it's just a name, something that's easily identifiable as your own profile, and you just don't want to have numbers in it. So once we get done with that, let's start going in with the sections one by one. The first section that you'll be working on is the intro section. As a top priority, you must have a profile picture. Don't be that one profile that has connections but doesn't have a profile picture. It really doesn't make it makes your profile look relatively weak just because you're not associating a face with the repertoire, with the showcase that you're creating. So with a profile picture, it's unlike any other profile picture that you've had for other social media platforms. For LinkedIn, you must have a professional headshot. So with that, you must be at least in business casual. So by at least, I mean business casual or more formal. You must be standing straight, in good lighting, smiling, and with a clean background. By clean, I mean either a really nice scenery where there's not a lot of contrast in colors, or a solid color background where you don't really have a shadow behind you. So for example, I'm going to show you my profile headshot. So this one over here, see how it's kind of symmetrical. It's a nice background, good lighting, standing up straight, business casual, all of that. You want to have that so that it's a good representation of your image of a good professional engineer or aspiring engineer. And you don't want to have any distractions in the profile picture, any inconsistencies. A good tip to have is you can take a picture with either the latest iPhone or the latest Android, and use that focus filter, and where it blurs out the background. That would make a really good headshot. If you don't currently have a headshot available, just put in a temporary profile picture, but it's highly important that you just add at least a profile picture to your profile immediately. And the next thing you want to add is a header photo. Header photos can be up to personal preference. Since I work for the University of Central Florida, I like to have one of my favorite spots on campus, the reflection pond. But I know of others that have put quotes that that they are passionate about, that represent them as as students, as engineers, or represent whatever their passions are for the industry. So headers are entirely up to you, but I highly recommend getting one as well. Something that can represent you as an individual or something that can complement your profile as a whole. So that's something I highly recommend to do right after getting your profile picture. The other thing that we want to showcase for the profile, for the intro, is the looking for a new job. This is your open to work function. It's going to make you open to work essentially. And what this does is that when recruiters search up people that they want to hire, that they want to reach out to apply for positions, you're going to appear in this list because your profile is set that you're open to work. So it's highly important that you set that up immediately. That way you don't miss out on any opportunities. It would be very unfortunate if you set up your profile, you don't get anything, and it's because you're not in that mode, you're not open to work. And then apart from that, if you want to edit your contact info, you can. Instead of saying student at University of Central Florida, you might want to be more specific and say aspiring electric engineer or aspiring computer engineer at the University of Central Florida, or you can put your current title. If you work, for example, Universal, you can just put team member at Universal Orlando. If you're currently an intern, you can also put that, as well as if you're an officer for any student organization, I highly recommend to put that there as well. These titles right here are they're relevant when they search up your profile, when they search up people that are in industry, interns, or people that are part of organizations like SHEP or SWE. You will come up just because you have that in your title. So make sure you also add a clean title for your name or for the top part of your profile. After you've done that, the next section that you're going to be working on is the About section. The About section is up to personal preference. A lot of people like to put their whole life story in the About section. Others like to keep it short and simple. So in my example, I only wrote 2 sentences. The first sentence is dedicated to who I am. I'm a versatile and passionate engineering student with experience in these fields with these skills. And then my second sentence is all about what I'm doing on this platform. I'm looking for a full-time position where I can apply my passions. You can be more specific if you're highly passionate for a specific company or a specific position that you really want. It's all up to you. We're going to skip the featured section for now. This is because the featured section is generally updated automatically as you're more active on the platform. For example, posts is updated automatically when you create posts, and articles are updated automatically when you start reacting to posts and commenting on other people's posts, and even sharing posts. So with that, the only thing you could really add right now is links. Links are just links to a personal website, portfolio page, or a YouTube link even. So if you want to add that right now, go for it. It definitely makes your profile stronger, but it's not absolutely necessary. Same thing for media. If you have any images or videos that can support your profile, go for it and add it. So the next section that we'll add is the background section. Here, it's going to be exactly like your resume. So if you have bullet points, just copy that over. You can extend descriptions and be more descriptive with your posts. You can talk about all of the past work experiences that you've had, even if they're not related to engineering. You can definitely make them sound like they're related to engineering. So wording definitely comes into consideration, comes into play, but make sure you add all of the past work experiences that you've had as a young professional. This can go a long way when you're talking to a recruiter because, for example, you could be interviewing with Texas Instruments and the recruiter had a previous part-time job at Universal. If you put that in your work experience, he might notice that, or they might notice that, and they might connect with you, and then that might improve your chances of continue on with the interview process and having a good interview. So anything matters when it comes to the work experience, so make sure you add every little bit of information that you can. Same thing for education. Licenses and certifications is a good thing to showcase in your profile. It makes you stand out when you're being compared to other candidates, especially when you're licensed in SolidWorks, Mastercam, AutoCAD, all of those softwares that are engineering related. It definitely makes a huge difference. even if it's not related to engineering, it can make you stand out too. It can make you more of a unique candidate that, apart from engineering, it showcases your hobbies or something, unique about yourself. So for example, let me show you this section for me. So for example, my experience section goes into every little bit of work experience that I've had in the past. In my resume, I only have the global expert, merchandise specialist, and the scheduling manager position, but since I'm not restricted by a page size, I go into more detail with each one. I include supportive documentation whenever, and I include more positions. And then my licenses and certifications, I'm Adobe certified in Illustrator and Photoshop, and I like to highlight that. It's a good talking point, and it makes me stand out as an engineer because not that many engineers are certified in these Adobe products. So whatever certifications you may have, I highly recommend to include it. And then for the education section, it's going to ask you, like I said, the school, the degree, the dates that you're attending. And then it's going to ask you about any activities and societies that you're part of. I just put them here, as well as it's going to give you a text box, and I like to mention GPA and any awards that I've had. And that's generally what is composed of your experience section. Again, it's a lot similar to a resume. I like to use bullet points here to format my descriptions and space them out so they're more readable, as well as quantify whenever and add any specific details. The volunteer experience section needs to be updated. So if you've done any volunteer work for any personal projects, for any organizations, this is a great opportunity to showcase that. The only thing I wouldn't include there is just high school volunteering, especially if you're a senior, junior, or a late sophomore, just because we generally don't include high school stuff in a resume. We shouldn't really include high school stuff in a LinkedIn. We want to include something that's more relevant, something that you've done in college and it's more relatable and you can talk about. So with skills, this is where you're also given a lot more freedom to highlight any skills that you are proficient in, that you want to talk about, that you want to showcase. And the good thing about LinkedIn is that even if you can have 50 skills, it can list your top 3 skills when people start commending you for them, or they can start giving you a plus for them, because something good about LinkedIn is that others can view your profile, and especially team members can see your skills and say, hey, this person or this individual is very proficient in this, and they can commend you for it. And then other people can come in and see that that other people have commended you for this skill, meaning that you're more credible when you're talking about these skills. That, if other people are willing to commend you for it, that must mean that, they're really good at this skill. So for skills, just generally add anything technical, anything you can prove on the spot during an interview. So instead of saying communications or time management, those are soft skills. I wouldn't really put them here because it's just wasting a spot. I would just put, project management is a good one if you're proficient in that. I would put LT Spice if you're good with LT Spice, breadboarding if you're good with breadboards. If you know assembly language, you can put MIPS assembly or MIPS instruction set. So this is your time to shine and be more versatile with your skills, as opposed to a resume where you're just tailoring that section to be super specific. Something really cool about LinkedIn is that you can take a skill quiz. So when you do that, for certain skills, you can prove proficiency. And then once you get a passing score for that quiz, you'll have a little badge next to it saying that you are proficient in the skill, that you passed a skill assessment, and that you're capable of working with this skill. Just note that these assessments are really difficult. I have over 4 years of programming in Java, and the Java test is extremely difficult. So if you've been following along with this video, and as long as you added 5 or more skills, this bar should be relatively complete. I believe it should be at an all-star mode. And with that, you should be able to see more opportunities on this platform, as well as be allowed to connect with more people. The section that we're going to be working on is going to be the accomplishments section. This section consists of a variety of things. The first 2, publications and patents. If you're an undergrad student, you most likely are not going to have these. If you're a graduate student, you might have a publication or you might have a patent. So If you have them, definitely include them. It makes you stand out. But if you don't worry about it. Courses is relatively important because some applications for jobs require you to have coursework in a specific field or a specific subject. For example, some software engineering jobs require you to see coursework in data algorithms or data structures and algorithms in Java, for example. With the course name, you might want to be more specific. Instead of saying computer science 1 or computer science 2, for example, it's better to say data structures and algorithms in C or data structures and algorithms in Java. Once you add the relative coursework, you will definitely want to include projects. This is going to be a hefty part of your profile. It might be super long depending on how many projects you have, but I recommend to include as many as possible. In this, you're going to put a project name. You can also mention projects that you're currently working on. You can put dates, the starting dates, end dates, as well as if they're showcased on a portfolio website, you can put the link right here. In the description, you can mention that this is a team project, that you can mention your role, and also the achievements of this project, as well as descriptions of what this project was about. So again, it's going to be relatively similar to a resume format. I mentioned Arduino ometer. This was the date that I was working on it, and I relatively styled it like a resume with bullet points and spaced out. And after you add your projects, you might want to add some honors or awards if you have them from the university or from any other third-party organizations. Generally like Dean's List from UCF or a top 10 night award. You might want to include that here. Again, it's not that important, but definitely makes you stand out if you have them. Similar with test scores. Here you can put SAT scores if you got a perfect score on SAT, or any engineering exams, like a professional engineering exam. You can mention that here. The next major subsection for this section that you're going to include is the organizations. This is highly recommended to have organizations and projects at least for this section. Organizations is going to be the student clubs that you're a part of. So if you're a member at IEEE, you're going to mention here IEEE. If you're a member, you can still mention that you're just a member, but if you're an officer in any other club, I highly recommend mentioning that. Leadership experience is highly sought after by industry professionals, by recruiters, so it's worth mentioning any little bit of industry experience that you've had in the past or that you currently are experiencing. And then for the next section, definitely not mandatory, but you can request a recommendation from either a peer, a coworker, a TA, or professor. So depending on your relationship with these individuals, you can request them to write a recommendation for your profile, where they can talk about your skills, how they can commend you for being a good team player, for example. So this section is worth mentioning, but again, it's not absolutely mandatory. And then after including all those sections, your profile should look something like this now. Very detailed, organized, with a lot of stuff to look at if you're an employer or recruiter. Now, after building your profile, you want to add some interests. The way you can add interest to your profile is by following these companies or organizations. So for example, I'm interested in working for Microsoft, so I add them to my interests. I follow them on LinkedIn, and as a result, I can stay up to date to any new technology that they're making, any professional posts, or any events that are upcoming with their recruiting team. So it's worth having interests. The way you can build up your connections is quite simple, actually. It will take time, but it's all about consistency. Even if you're posting or making a post once a month or every other week, LinkedIn is a platform that measures or determines how popular a user is by the user activity. So the more active you are on the platform, the more relevant you are going to be, and the more likely you are going to appear in search results. So try to make it a habit to react to posts, comment posts, share posts, or even make posts regularly. That way you can build up your relevancy, and then people can start looking you up. You start coming up on their end, and they'll want to connect with you. So That's one good way to get connections. And another great way to get connections is by outreach. Even with people that you may not know, I highly recommend reaching out to them. Definitely just don't send them a connect request. Send them a request with a note attached to it. You can do that when you follow people. You can add a note to make yourself kind of like a virtual introduction. And from there, just introduce yourself, say what you're looking for and why you're connecting with this individual. Same thing for industry professionals or company recruiters. Introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, and then ask them if they will be interested in connecting, or asking for any advice for a student such as yourself. Just note that not everyone is going to reply. You're definitely going to get people that deny your request and ghost you or don't reply back, but it's all part of the process, and you will have people that will accept you and will reply and will give you advice and so on. Having more connections is definitely worth it, because the more connections you have, the more opportunities you're going to be available to. If you're looking for an opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, if you have the open to work, your connections can help you find a job where they can react to your post, and their connections can see their reaction to your post, and it could be a recruiter and they could reach out to you. So it's all about having the connections on this platform, and those are two solid ways to get it. One, by being active on the platform, and two, by outreaching and making a name for yourself and presenting yourself professionally. And then apart from that, you might want to make it a milestone to get to the 500 plus connections. It's definitely a good indicator of your growth, especially in terms of your professional growth as an individual. And it's a good reminder of your network. When I started out, I couldn't get past around 100 connections, but then slowly with consistency, I was able to get it to the 500 plus mark. And from there, it's just going to keep going up. So make it a habit to improve your connections and improve your network. After all, that's what being a student in college is all about. Especially when you have that free time, it's all about building your connections, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know if this connection is going to give you a foot in the door for the company of your dreams. So it's definitely worth doing, even if it only takes 30 minutes out of your day. So after completing all of these steps, your profile should be top notch, should be looking really spiffy, and should be ready for those connections. Thank you for watching this video. If you've been keeping along with the first video and the second video, I really hope these videos have been helping you in your professional development track. And with that, I wish you best of luck in your future endeavors, and best of luck in your outreach in this platform. Thank you very much. And my name is Carlos, the IEEE Professional Development Chair, and this was how to make a good LinkedIn video. Thanks for watching.